kindly inviting all delegates to take up their seats before I invite the next moderator for the upcoming session. And if you know that you're one of the discussants in the next session, please get ready. And our IT colleagues, make sure the presentation is also on standby. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, allow me to invite the next facilitator, Professor Norman Maiwashi, Agricultural Research Council, South Africa. He's going to take us through a session on policy pathways to transformed food systems. Policy pathways to transformed food systems. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as Professor Norman Maiwashi is going to take up the session. I think you can do better than that. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Can we give a round of applause to Matthew for doing such a wonderful job? As I've been introduced, I'm Norman Maiwashi from South Africa. Let me thank the organizer for this opportunity for me to come and facilitate this session. Let me start off by saying all protocol observed. I come from the scientific community where it's a bit tricky for us to go through all the levels of protocol, and in order to make sure that I don't put my foot wrongly, I will just observe all the protocol. And I think I should thank the government of Malawi for the hospitality. It's my first time here in Malawi, and I'm excited that before I even leave, I've already gotten an invitation to say, once you come to Malawi, just know that you'll be back. Let me confirm that I'll be back. So far, so good. So we're now going to change gears and start delving into the discussions, the technical discussions that will assist us to come up with a game plan on how we're going to address the challenges that face us. For this particular session, I note that we still have, we have been allocated 1 hour, and thanks to Matthew, we have been given 1 hour and 15 minutes. That will assist us a great deal to cover enough ground. We're going to talk about the policy pathways towards sustainable food systems, which is very, very important for all of us. In terms of the process that we're going to follow, we're going to start with a presentation to set the scene, and from there we will have a panel discussion that will include 4 speakers. And then once we're done with the discussions, I'm going to afford you an opportunity as the audience to also make your contributions, either through questions or comments. And I'm hoping that we're going to work very well together. I see that there seem to be a little bit of surprise to everybody. It seems like we're still in the opening mode. Can we all stand up? Can you look to the ceiling? Do you see anything on the ceiling? Can you look to the left? To the right? Down? And we can sit down now. I think we are now ready to start off with this session. And in terms of the introductory remarks, transformation of food systems, it's very, very important for our continent. And that is for many reasons. One of them being addressing the issues of food security, the issues of sustainability. So this is very, very important. So we can agree that the need for change is not something that we need to be discussing. So in this session, we are going to look at how do we transform our food systems. What sort of policy pathways are we supposed to be following to make sure that we are responsive to the need of this continent? One of the issues that is critical is around how we coordinate our efforts. In the last 30 years or so, everybody has been busy trying to make a difference. And we don't have much to show in terms of results because we have been working in our little corners. And business as usual is not going to work. We need to start working together to be able to drive the change. So in this session, we're going to talk about actions that we need to be focusing on to drive the change. And without any further ado, I'm going to request Professor Cecilia Onyango, who is going to set the scene for our panel discussion. Amongst other things, she's going to address the current challenges facing our food systems. She will also look at the innovative policy frameworks and their potential impact. And lastly, she will draw on the experiences of Foresight Health Project. Prof. Onyango, I'm hoping that you are ready so that we can get started. Let's give her a round of applause as she ascends the stage.
All protocol observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. We've just had our break tea, so we should be very strong, right? Yes. So as my presentation comes up, my name is Cecilia Onyango. I am a professor of horticulture. I work with the University of Nairobi, and my specialization is horticulture, fruits, vegetables, and flowers. I focus more on the production environment, and here my main focus is on safety issues, and I think that relates very well to food systems. But in today's talk, I am going to take you through a few of the slides that will set pace to our discussion. I am not a master of what I'm going to say, but I can at least deliver. Being a professor at the university, my work is to deliver the information, and then we tie that together, we start the discussion, push it forward, come up with solutions. So I'm going to look at the policy pathways that can lead to transformed food systems. And look at the food system, what it is, the challenges that we are facing with our current food systems, and then try and tease out the role of policy, where we should focus, and how policy can be part of the solution to obtaining the interventions that will sort the challenges that our food systems are facing for sustainability, but also for resilience, because there are many issues that are happening that if we are not resilient, then we cannot get to where we want to be. So when we are looking at the food system, there are all those steps involved from the time we start talking about acquiring the inputs to the production until our tables, what we just had today, and how we dispose that which we cannot eat. And here you realize that everybody is engaged. The actors are not just from one profession, but all of us. We had this morning from the minister, from the board chair, and all those who spoke before me, that all of us must be engaged in this discussion in order to come up with solutions that are lasting. Why do we need the transformation in the food systems, or the system that we have today? It is because we are still talking about hunger and malnutrition even after a lot of investments have been made in agriculture. We have beautiful policies in Africa, for example, and to be more specific, Kenya, my country, we have wonderful policies. And yet, year in, year out, people are dying of hunger. We are talking about underweight, but more recently, we are starting to talk about overweight. Those are the challenges that we are facing. So in this dialogue, we really must start thinking, and thinking seriously, why as Africans we cannot feed our people. Then the other challenge we are facing is environmental degradation. And we have seen that food systems are a major driver of this degradation that comes from climate change, deforestation, biodiversity loss. So we have again to start thinking, where are we going wrong, or what haven't we done right? Social inequity is another challenge. We see small-scale farmers, indigenous communities, and women not having access, and now the youth, and we have seen a lot of uprising going on in most of these countries. It's because of the inequalities that exist, and it's not away from the food system. So if people lack access to resources within the food system, how can we then start discussing and pushing this forward, this discussion, to ensure that we see meaningful change happening, even as all these challenges are being tackled? The current food system challenges, I am sure we know them, but I am bringing them out today because this is a dialogue. We need to see where each one of us is going to come in so that we can solve these food system challenges that range from the environmental challenges. We are seeing extreme weather events. We are seeing land degradation. We are seeing pollution and water scarcity. And these are real challenges. So where are we going to plug in as policymakers, as scientists, as government officials, as the people who are in the space of production, of processing, of marketing? Where do we plug in so that we do not lose all this? We do not face the biodiversity loss. In the social and economic challenges, I cannot re-emphasize the issues of food insecurity and malnutrition. We are seeing price fluctuations, trade barriers, we are seeing market failures, and people cannot afford food. Further, we have focused for a long time interventions that address food production. We have produced so much, but all that ends up being lost or wasted. So why do we put a lot of resources in the production of our food, having this going to the kitchens prepared, and then we waste it on our tables? I am sure there are some of us, when we went for break, we served quite some amount, but we didn't finish that. Resources have been put to produce that which you did not eat and just left on the table to be wasted. And then the losses that come. If you're talking about fresh produce, you imagine that the requirement of resources are so high. And yet, more than 40% of what that has been produced is lost. So these are the changes. We are hearing about food safety hazards. We produce, we overuse chemicals, and maybe we can't even export if that produce was meant for the export market. Sometimes we feed on that food and we get sick. And we spend so much resources treating diseases that otherwise will have been avoided. Pests and diseases are emerging because of the changing environmental conditions. What can we do so that our food systems are resilient enough to be able to withstand the new challenges that are coming? Policy interventions are essential if we are going to talk about sustainability, equity, and resilience. But by just having those policies without implementation, and we have heard this morning, it doesn't make sense. We must, as governments, start seeing the value of research. And we have heard this again in the morning. Evidence-based policies. That's the only way. So what are some of the ways that we can have this happen? If we can incentivize sustainable practices such that we reduce the greenhouse emissions, we conserve water, we protect the environment, then maybe we will be talking about getting to where we want to be. Investments in innovation. Most of our African governments do not invest in research and innovation. And yet we know that when we invest in this development of new technologies and approaches, then we can increase our production, we can have processing to reduce the wastage and distribution of that which is been produced. But what kind of policies in terms of our countries, what kind of policies do we have to support innovation, to support research?